When we left off last time, India's first attempt of self reliance in technology had hit a wall. IBM wouldn't play ball, early regulations backfired, and the government was learning the hard way that ambition alone wasn't enough.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Info Rush, where curiosity meets clarity. I am Disha,
I am Rudrakshi.
and welcome to our second episode, The Powerpuff Play. Today, we are diving into the 1970s, a period when India decided to take control of its own tech destiny, not just on paper, but in practice. After facing criticism from other government agencies and then private sector, the Indian government realized that it needed a stronger, more focused approach. And so they created two key bodies, the Department of Electronics and the Electronics Commission. One of their first bold moves was the creation of the Santa Cruz Electronics Export Processing Zone, or SEEPS, located in Mumbai. It offered huge incentives, tax breaks, duty free imports, but the crucial requirement was all or most production must be exported. This was India's first major blueprint for a global services export hub.
I usually see a lot of crowd every morning near steps, like I travel to office every day, as every Mumbaiker would do, and I always wondered what it really was. Now it all makes sense.
Exactly, so now you know. Second, they created the State owned Electronics Corporation of India Limited, ESIL, for mini computer production. With ESIL getting almost all of the government's computer development funding, the government essentially created a monopoly for ESIL in the small mini market, starving private competitors of licenses because it was the Department of Electronics which had the power over the licensing of computer imports. As a result, ESIL could capture up to half of the market. Sounds like a success story, right? Not quite. ESL struggled to deliver computers that met global standards, falling short on technological innovation, cost efficiency, and production timelines. Indigenization had an execution problem this time. All of this was setting the stage for the final act of the 1970s, a dramatic showdown with IBM, using a powerful regulation called FERA, the Foreign Exchange Regulations Act. Using FERA, the government demanded that foreign companies dilute their equity to 40% in their Indian operations, which meant that if a foreign company like IBM wanted to keep doing business in India, they were no longer allowed to own the whole company. Their ownership would be capped to 40%, and the other 60% would be that of Indian partners joining hands with Indian firms.
I think I kind of know, like even when you look at Starbucks sign, you see a Tata company written
Exactly.
down. So
Yes.
yeah,
So it's a joint venture.
yeah. It's interesting to know that SEEPS in a way pioneered India's export-led services model, setting the template for India's integration into global value chains. Also, I get it now. DOE, Electronics Commission, and FERA, the three Powerpuff girls, were proving a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, exactly. ICL gave in on the equity issue, but guess who was acting like a stubborn landlord, refusing to hand over the keys to the property, even as the laws were being rewritten around them? The Big Blue,
Hmm.
IBM. While negotiations with IBM dragged on, and just as they were about to reach a conclusion, two major developments changed the game entirely. And that's where we'll pick up in the next episode. That's today's Info Rush. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and log out smarter.